Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 52 of Brat Said That. I'm your host, Brat Jackson, along with my co-producer, Chad LGBT. I hope everybody had a great, fantastic, wonderful weekend. We're here in lovely Sin City, episode 52, pumping these out twice a week. I'm loving it. Hopefully everybody had a great weekend. I know things are chaos in the world, so hopefully in the next 45 minutes to an hour we can forget about all that, talk about sports, look at some Easter eggs in the background. I wore the corniest button-up I can find. I willingly bought this thinking, hey, fashion, but I don't know anything about fashion. But you know what I do know a lot about? Sports. And we're going to get right into it, okay? We're going to get right into it because we got a lot to talk about. Because Monday Night Raw happened last night like it happened every single Monday since 1993. And we are just 2 Raws away. Well, last week, let's see. Yesterday, we're just 1 Raw away from WrestleMania. How crazy is that? And a lot has happened yesterday. Pretty much every piece of the puzzle is put together. Some pieces of the puzzle aren't in the puzzle this year. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about WrestleMania, but we got to talk about Raw. Last night, CM Punk came out. The World Heavyweight Champion came out and cut an epic promo by himself in the middle of the ring, CM Punk style, as best as he can. Listen, there was a lot of talks about Roman Reigns, the Usos, the Bloodline, CM Punk, and everything. This match is also for the World Heavyweight Championship. I don't know if it's not the main focal point of this. I don't think they've ever even said anything about the World Heavyweight Champion, except that CM Punk is the World Heavyweight Champion. So, he came out, he took shots at everybody. He took shots at Pat MAGAFee. Brilliant name. I will forever call Pat MAGAFee, because he is. Ticket prices, TKO, lower your ticket prices. I agree with you, CM Punk. It was just a really, 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 really good promo. Roman wasn't there because he's only contractually obligated to show up twice a month. But listen, good promo, CM Punk. Got me hyped up for that, the WrestleMania main event. The biggest match, the literal biggest match of the year. There is nothing bigger than the WrestleMania main event. But you know what else happened? A lot has happened. I got a whole list of what happened on Raw. I kind of got to go out of order of what happened because, I kind of was just typing away, thinking about everything. Finn Balor came out, ready to face JD McDonough. I have a hair on my microphone. And then Dirty Dominic with his luscious hair attacked Finn, and they were like beating him up. And then Finn was like, you know what? He's coming back. The Demon is coming back at WrestleMania. Can't wait for that. I wanted a little bit different. I wanted Finn to go away after he got kicked out of Judgment Day. Then you plant those little Easter eggs, no pun intended. And then you have that big reveal at WrestleMania. But it's still going to be good. Dominic is, he's in trouble. He is in trouble. But he is not the only Mysterio wrestling at WrestleMania. Rey Mysterio came out and said, hey, you know what's better than a 5-way ladder match? A 6-way ladder match. And he's like, I'm gonna join the ladder match. And it's kind of, everybody's like, well, why is Rey cleared now that Gunther already has a match? And it was kind of like a little, what's going on with Rey Mysterio? Did he not want to face Gunther? But that ladder match is going to be insane. Rey Mysterio, Hall of Famer. And just with him, Penta, we're going to go over the whole card in a second. Because, breaking news, earlier today, they announced what matches are going to be for Saturday and Sunday. We're going to get to that right next after we're done with Raw. But another match added to WrestleMania. The Vision and I Show Speed are going to take on the Usos. They got their theme song back. They're back to the Yeats. I'm very glad that they did that because I think them taking away that theme song was stupid. And LA Knight. Yeah. So that's going to be a great 6-way match. I'm okay with I Show Speed in the ring because he is very athletic. I've seen some of his clips. I don't know how green screen or AI or computer generated it is, but he's an athletic kid. And, you know, if you can take a spear from Braun Breaker like that, you got my respect. So that's going to be a good six-way match. Definitely have to have, even though this WrestleMania is overload on celebrities, that celebrity involvement. And ISO Speed brings the views. That dude's got 7 billion viewers. I watch his streams, like the one with LA Knight and others, and it's just constant. I don't know how real it is. The numbers are just going up, and the chat just go crazy. So, you know, he'll do a lot of cool stuff for us. Not us. I'm not in the company yet, or ever will be. So, good for them. Good for Logan. Shows Logan Paul is kind of stepping outside of that, you know, celebrity special attraction match to be like, you know, like a regular day at work for him, which is great. And you got Austin Theory on the card, and the Usos and LA Knight. Seth Rollins and Gunther had a little back and forth. We kind of know why, or we don't know why Gunther and Seth Rollins is happening, but that's still a heck of a match. WrestleMania caliber match, for sure. There's nothing else you can really say about that match, which it's going to be that, you know, we talked about some matches are for the celebrities. Some matches are for, like, the hardcore fans. Some matches are for the TKO. This is the one match where it's, like, 5 stars. It's going to be a great 5-star match. Becky Lynch and I put AJ Styles. Becky Lynch and AJ Lee did a little promo with Michael Cole. I liked it. Becky Lynch is great on promos. She is really the best. And this is not me saying that. It's Sports Illustrated saying that. It's damn, Dave knows this one. Bleacher Report knows that. She is great. AJ's a little bit iffy on promos, but, you know, we'll give them the opportunity to wrestle on the biggest stage, and we'll see how that goes. Another women's match I'm really looking forward to after yesterday. Stephanie Vasker is getting her revenge on Liv, and if you saw what happened to Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez, they were like, Liv was backstage with Roxanne, and Liv was like, hey, I know Finn put you into the Judgment Day, but now Finn's not in the Judgment Day, so, you know, we're cool, though. And then Stephanie Vasker yeeted Liv in a Roxanne, and their heads went, donk, that sound, not making it up. And now Liv has a huge, huge, huge bump on her head. So now it is officially going to be a handicap match. Stephanie Vasker is going to defend her World Women's Championship against Liv Morgan and that thing on her head. And then Brock Lesnar and Oba Femi. Kind of weird segment. Like, it was the last main event of Raw. It was supposed to be a contract signing. Triple H, he comes down, I don't know why, but, like, then it ends. Like, they were throwing ladders, and they were throwing chairs and tables and security guards. This is gonna be one hell of a match. Man, WrestleMania, you got your pieces of the puzzle, but listen, before we go over the card for Saturday and Sunday, no Io, no Asuka, no Kairi Sane, no Tiffany Stratton, no Ilya Dragunov, no Braun Breaker, no Bronson, we know about that. No, who else is there? No Carmelo. Now they're gonna do no Aleister Black, Matt Cardona. Not everybody can get a spot at WrestleMania, but you went to 2 nights because of this. You went to 2 nights because WrestleMania 35 was 17 days long. You should add a couple more matches. But it seems like all the matches for WrestleMania are set, are cleared, and we're going to talk about that right now. We're going to look at the WrestleMania card. Is officially posted this morning on Get Up. I wish it would have broken on my show. Why can't they just be like, hey, Brat, why don't you break the WrestleMania card? It's night 1 and night 2. So, if you have not seen, this is breaking news to you. Night 1, April 18th. I think the first 2 matches are gonna be free on ESPN2 on Saturday and free on ESPN on Sunday. So I think the first 2, which I saw, let me see if I can get a graphic instead of going to Wikipedia, because I think they highlighted what matches are gonna be on which night on the graphic that I saw. Let's see, WrestleMania. Let's see. Oh, here we go. So, no, whatever. We got Division, Logan Paul, Austin Theory, and ISO Speed are going to take on Usos, Jimmy Uso, and LA Knight. Night 1, 6-man tag team match. Jacob fought Drew McIntyre, unsanctioned match. I think those two will be on ESPN too. Then you have Stephanie Vesker versus Liv Morgan for the Women's World Championship. AJ Lee, Becky Lynch for the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship. Where am I at? The Irresistible Forces, Nia Jax, Lash Legend versus Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Bayley, Lila Vacaria, and the Bella Twins. You can look, but you can't touch. Fatal 4-way tag team match for the Women's Tag Team Championship. Seth Rollins versus Gunther, and Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton with Pat MAGAFee for the Undisputed WWE Championship. That is night 1. Now, night 2, I believe the first... Hold on, I don't think this is right. Because the graphic I saw is completely different. Let's see. But that's a hell of a night 1. I mean, night 2 is going to be good too. I don't see the graphics, but WrestleMania 2, night 2, WrestleMania night 2. Alba Family versus Brock Lesnar, 6 singles match. Penta will defend the Intercontinental Championship against Siobhan Evans, Dragon Lee, JD McDonough, JD McDougal. His name is hard to pronounce, okay? Versus Rusev and Rey Mysterio. Then you got Jade Cargill versus Rhea Ripley for the WWE Women's Championship. Sami Zayn versus Trick Williams for the WWE United States Championship. The Demon Finn Balor versus Dominic Mysterio. And CM Punk versus Roman Reigns, of course, the main event. So that will be night 2. Looking at this card, looking at these 2 cards, night 1 looks like it has a little bit of an edge. It does. But Hoba versus Brock and the ladder match on the same card? You know what? I don't know. There's 7 matches on night 1, 6 matches on night 2. If my math is correct, that is 13 matches. You know, you could have that in one day. Not going to lie. But those are the official cards subject to change, of course. WrestleMania matches. We're going to give all our predictions next week. You know, we're still on the road to WrestleMania, but the Allegiant Stadium is in our sight. You know, we just got on the 215. We passed the Silverton, and we can see Allegiant Stadium coming up. Speaking about Pat MAGAFee, Pat MAGAFee ripped into dipshit wrestling fans. His words, not mine. This is an article from SlamWrestling.net. He said some stuff like the IWC, which is the Internet Wrestling Council, which is like it's like the Antifa of wrestling. It's all imagination. Are not the biggest fans of what happened. No shit. They're pretty upset about it, but they are a part of the problem. They're the ones that said, yeah, this is what it's supposed to be, all this stuff. It's like, nah, let us show you what it's supposed to be. When Randy Orton is at top of the marquee, it is a special thing to be seen. It was very important, talking about his involvement into the main event. Pivotal moment in wrestling in the history of the business. Listen, Pat MAGAFee. You could add Cody Rhodes. Listen, more people were more excited to see Ted DiBiase that we haven't seen in 15 years than Pat MAGAFee that we have stopped not seeing for 15 seconds. He criticizes the fans. I was asking the wrestling fans this weekend, hey, did you think Randy Orton, yet for what he's going to do at WrestleMania for the future of wrestling, these IWC dipshits have no idea that it's for their own good. They have no idea what they've been missing. They have no idea what it's supposed to look like now we're changing. Who is this we? Randy Orton's been a legend, no pun intended, for 25 years. This match does not need Pat MAGAFee. Not once. Not once did I say, you know what, I really hope Pat MAGAFee gets involved in the main event of WrestleMania because I feel like I miss him a lot. And then he says, number 1 story coming out this weekend, you guessed it, Randy Orton saving the business at WrestleMania. You know, it was a fun time on Friday night letting the world know that, yeah, you remember when Randy Orton came on the show at the Combine? Do you remember shortly after that? Yada, yada. He just talked to him. He's playing up this heel persona, and I get it, but we don't need you, Pat MAGAFee. We don't. We don't need you. Stick to commentator. Heck, even that. Oh, I just got a tweet posted to me. Pat MAGAFee responded to CM Punk calling him Pat MAGAFee. MAGA. MAGAFee, and bringing up WWE ticket prices on Raw last night. This is what Pat MAGAFee said. CM Punk last night called me Pat MAGAFee and attacked a lot of things. Then he would lay out why he is not worth the price of admission to WrestleMania. Lower the prices now. I'm not worth that much. No worries, Mr. Punk. Randy Orton is here to save everything. Now, I know CM Punk is not talking about himself when he says lower the ticket prices. He's saying lower the ticket prices because the ticket prices have been absolutely insane. Okay? I don't want to harp on the past, but literally a decade ago, you could get tickets to wherever it is, a plane for a hotel, for less than you can for nosebleeds right now. And it was one night. You can have WrestleMania one single night. You don't need 2 nights. Now, don't get me wrong. I'll never complain about more wrestling because I love wrestling. But, the ticket prices have been absolutely insane. I've talked about it on my very first show. Go check it out. We looked at ticket prices last week. I doubt they changed. I don't want to look at ticket prices again because it makes my wallet cry, wallet upset. But speaking about making me upset, I know he's got a very... the Hulk Hogan documentary I watched, it's his last interview before he died, and it's absolutely gonna make me cry. It's all about, I don't know, I haven't seen the documentary yet, but for real, it's just so sad. This guy was vilified at the end of his life. And like I said about Vince McMahon, we would not have a WrestleMania. We would not have all these wrestling podcasts if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan. Now, I know what he said was wrong. You should never say anything like that to people about their color, their race, their sexuality. That's not called for. But when it comes to who built the foundation of wrestling, it was Hulk Hogan. And, I don't want to hear, oh, Brat, how can you defend Hulk Hogan? There's still people defending Chris Benoit after he killed his wife and kid. So, maybe pick and choose your battles, But Hulk Hogan, though, I'm going to watch the documentary. We're going to talk about the documentary. I think it's April 22nd, which is Earth Day. I know that because that day I got my license. Yes, in 2008. But speaking about picking and choosing his battles, seems like Alberto Del Rio is in trouble once again. Yes, it is a constant cycle of just troubleness for Alberto Del Rio. Arrested once again in Mexico for legal troubles. This time, let's see. On April 6, 2026, Rodriguez, this is his name, Alberto Del Rio, his road name, Rodriguez, was arrested in San Luis Potosí by the state civil guard after his wife reported via 911 that she was a victim of physical assaults. You have also legal troubles from 2020 where you went to jail. You've had legal troubles. You've had this history of just being a shitty person. So for that, Alberto Del Rio, it is Tuesday. You have won the BratWURST Award of the Week for just being not a good person. Just, I don't know if it's steroids or anger issues, but, you're arrested in 2020 for alleged battery and sexual assaulting his girlfriend. Charges were dropped, but still, I just keep hearing the nonsense of Del Rio. It is just annoying. If you want to watch a satisfying Del Rio clip, watch him taking on Mirko Cro Cop and Pride and getting head kicked in less than a minute. But Alberto Del Rio, BratWURST Award goes to you. So, Speaking of Alberto Del Rio, we do have to talk about WrestleMania. We've done this every single show. We look back at a WrestleMania that happened on this date, and we're going to go back not too far long ago. Actually, this is really 13 years ago. To WrestleMania 29 in East Rutherford, New Jersey at MetLife Stadium, where the Jets and the Giants play their games. I say play because they don't win there much, but they play their games. This is, I think, the second time they went to Jersey. This is the first time they went to Jersey in WrestleMania. The second time was on WrestleMania 35. But we're going to go over this card. We're going to go over this card, and we're going to go over the card that I booked. Because I would have done a few things a little bit different than what they did. I have a lot of friends that went to this WrestleMania because it was in Jersey. I've been to that little area of Jersey. I went to the Prudential Center for UFC. Ever went to MetLife? I really would love to. This was the first WrestleMania that, after I left, it's funny, I left New York in 2012 to come to Vegas, and like, you know what, let's have WrestleMania in 2013 in Jersey. It's like, come on now, I would have went to that. So, their WrestleMania 29, it was the once-in-a-lifetime match between John Cena and The Rock. No, it was the second time ever facing. They faced before WrestleMania 28 in Miami. Now, this is their second time at WrestleMania 29. Why would you say once-in-a-lifetime if it happened? Oh, I know why. Because Cena needed his win back. So, we're going to go over the card. The Miz defeated Wade Barrett by submission to win the Intercontinental Championship in the pre-show. Which, hey, WWE, you can have pre-show matches. It's okay. And I think Wade Barrett won it back the next night. The Shield, Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins, their first WrestleMania together, defeated the Big Show, Randy Orton, and Sheamus. 3 Hall of Famers. Needed something to do. Let's put a 6-man together with the Shield. Hey, Big Show and Randy Orton and Sheamus didn't do anything. There you go. Mark Henry defeated Ryback by pinfall in a very sloppy match. Team Hell No. Daniel Bryan and Kane defeated Big E Langston and Dolph Ziggler with AJ Lee to retain the WWE Tag Team Championships. Fandango. Yes, Fandango made his WWE debut on WrestleMania. Took on Chris Jericho by pinfall. Alberto Del Rio, like we just talked, defeated Jack Swagger for the World Heavyweight Championship. I was hyped because Jack Swagger, I've always liked Jack Swagger. He's going to be Power Slap next week, so check that out. But this was a weird match. The Undertaker defeated CM Punk with Paul Heyman by pinfall. That was a good match. Another one. The last win for The Undertaker before the streak ended. Whew. By the way, 5 a.m. shifts. I woke up at 3:30 to go to 5 a.m. I didn't even know there was a 5 a.m. I just thought it was like midnight, then sleep and wake up and it's 9. Triple H defeated Brock Lesnar in a no-holds-barred match. And then the main event, John Cena defeated The Rock by pinfall for the WWE Championship. Overall, it was a weird WrestleMania. Let's look at the reception. Let's see right here. Gave it a 7 out of 10. The World Heavyweight Championship match received 5 out of 10. Punk and Undertaker received a perfect score of 10 out of 10. WrestleMania 29 garnered 1.48 million pay-per-view buys. I think this was the last WrestleMania you can buy on pay-per-view before the network. WrestleMania 29 set a new claimed world record of 80,676 fans at MetLife Stadium and was then the second highest attended wrestling event in history. Wow. So, excuse me. That is I think it's a little underrated WrestleMania. It definitely doesn't go down as one of the greatest. It was definitely weird. One thing, though, I think a lot of people forget about, I want to make sure this is the right WrestleMania. A canceled match happened. Yes, the Bella Twins Cody Rhodes and Damian Sandow was supposed to take on Brodus Clay, Tensai, and the Funkadactyls, Naomi and Cameron, but the match was canceled due to time constraints and instead took place the following nights with Tons of Funks and the Funkadactyls emerging victorious. So that's a little fun fact, a little trivia question. But see, now the WrestleMania I would have done is a little bit different. Now, I'm going to say this and I'm going to be completely 100 honest. I would have had Ryback winning the world title against CM Punk and winning that WrestleMania. Now, I'm not trying to be funny, because people, like wrestling fans, have a very short span of attention. But Ryback was over. He was over. I would have had him win the Rumble. I would have had him go on to just dominate the next few months. But they had other plans. You know, The Rock was like, I'm not done yet. Defeated CM Punk, ended his 434-day reign. Then John Cena won the Rumble and went on to, win this WrestleMania main event. But here we go. WrestleMania 29. Brat Said That edition. Now, here's the thing. I would have moved it out of New York because I like New York having 1, 10, 20, and 30. Would have done that. I would have had Brodus and Tensai in the dark match, taking off Dolph Ziggler and Mark Henry. I would have Big E Langston, I think, debut, or maybe, I don't know why they changed that one. But the United States Championship, I would have Fandango defeated Claudio. If you're going to have Fandango making a dominant debut, have him win the title off Claudio in the pre-show. I would have The Undertaker taking on Chris Jericho. That would have been a hell of a match, making The Undertaker go 21-0. Triple H, Brock Lesnar, I liked. That would have stayed the same. Ambrose, Reigns, and Rollins. Big Show, Randy Orton, Sheamus would have been great. I would have had Caitlyn versus AJ Lee because they were feuding back and forth the whole year, and they were putting on great matches. I would have had Mike Mizanin, I call him Mike Mizanin, take on Wade Barrett in the on the main card, not the pre-show. I would have had Bryan Danielson and Kane defeating Cody Rhodes and Damian Sandow for the World Tag Team Championship. I would have had the World Heavyweight Championship match between Alberto Del Rio and Jack Swagger in a submission match. Del Rio had the armbar. Swagger had the ankle lock. I would have had Ryback defeating CM Punk, becoming champion at WrestleMania. Not lying, he was over. You should have done it. And of course, you could have John Cena defeat The Rock twice in a lifetime. So overall, it was like kind of a weird WrestleMania. But, on paper, it was a good WrestleMania. I don't know. But I watched it. I watched it at, what did I watch this one? Sam's Town. They used to have pay-per-view parties. They used to sell you bags of chips, cans of Coke, and a dirty hot dog. You would think yeah. Anyways, I'm going to talk about TNA. TNA has been doing this little weird, number gimmick. It's 9, and then 8. It's not a countdown. It's just numbers. And it's is it a debut? Is there moving programs? What is going on? Is it Dolph Ziggler? But that's a little mystery in TNA. It looks like the little WWE mystery has rubbed off on TNA. Let's just see what's going on with that. The mysterious number in TNA. Oh, didn't they do that last year with Mance Warner? They did that, right? What is that? TNA 08, 09 numbers. I don't know. It's not giving me what I want. But yeah, that's a little mystery in TNA. We'll keep an eye on that. See what's going on with that TNA. AEW, we're going to move on to AEW. We don't really watch it or really care for it too much after Tony Schiavone proved that he's a douchebag. But Dynasty looks like a hell of a card. Vancouver, British Columbia. It is going to be this weekend. Feels like they just had a pay-per-view. But a couple of new matches. Alex Windsor will take on Marina Shafir. FTR will take on Edge and Christian. Moxley and Ospreay, Andrade versus Darby Allin, MJF versus Kenny Omega. I watched their promo together where MJF is like the devil and Kenny Omega is like God and all that stuff. And then Tequila versus Jamie Hayter. So that's all the matches so far. I don't really watch or follow AEW too much, but like I said, can't hurt. More wrestling pay-per-views, more wrestling events. But move on to the MMA section. Not much has gone on in the MMA world. Very, very quiet weekend. I mean, we were on the show Saturday when Marcano subbed Duncan. He had a lot to say. Marcano, he's like, get me out of this Apex. Give me a ranked fighter. I make a lot of money on YouTube. I don't mean to be doing this, which I agree. Get out of the Apex. You don't need it. But this week, we did talk about Joshua Vaughn's fight against Tassiro Taria falling out. They're going to fight 2 weeks later in the, or not 2 weeks. They're going to fight at UFC 328 next month. So the main card is Yuri Prochazka will not defend for the vacant UFC light heavyweight championship against Carlos Yalberg. Azamat Murzakanov versus Paulo Costa. I think Costa is moving up to 205. Curtis Blades versus Josh Hokic. Dominic Reyes, Johnny Walker, and Cub Swanson is going to have his last match ever against Nate Landwehr. Good card. Very, very, very good card. We're going to give our predictions. Hell, even Kelvin Gastelum is in the early prelims, so I'll be checking it out. I have a 6 to 2 shift that day, so I will make sure I take my nappy nap, and we'll have a, tweet along. Follow me on Twitter, Brat Said That X. Yeah, it's going to be a good card. We'll give our predictions when we come on, I think Friday. We're going to come on Friday, so that would be great. But, like we did, this is going to be a big segment here. We talk about WrestleManias that happen on this day. I need to talk about a fight that happened on this day, 2007, 19 years ago. My favorite fighter of all time. Matt Serra defeated Georges St-Pierre to become the UFC welterweight championship. Not the championship, he wasn't the belt. To become the UFC welterweight champion in 30 minutes, 25 seconds, knocking out GSP in what people say is the biggest underdog moment in MMA history, and I agree. So that was a heck of a fight. I rewatch that fight when I'm sad. When I'm like, Brat, you can't accomplish this, you can't do that in the world. I'm like, you know what? Matt Serra knocked out GSP in the first round, become UFC welterweight champion. I can do whatever I want. And the crazy thing about it is Matt Serra, he came off the Ultimate Fighter 4 show. The Ultimate Fighter 4 season was all the guys that didn't make it around the UFC in the first place, that I don't want to say failed, but didn't reach up to their potential. Come back for the comeback season. He won the finals, and this was a guaranteed title shot. And people weren't even talking about Matt Serra at this fight. He was like, oh, I can't wait for Georges St-Pierre versus Matt Hughes again. Matt Serra was like, nah, I'm going to ruin your plans. So, I do want to look into the biggest MMA upsets of all time. Now, off the top of my head, you have Verdum over Fedor. Even though she's a lunatic, Julia Pena over Amanda Nunes. Why do I have to agree to your stuff? Oh, okay. So, number 1, Matt Serra versus GSP. Now, number 2, Adesanya losing to Strickland. I give Strickland a lot of shit on the show, but he was always like that guy where you're like, yeah, I can see him being champion. Especially if he fights the way he talks, and he dominated Strickland. I mean, he dominated Adesanya to win the decision, become UFC middleweight champion. Rousey versus Holm, on paper, of course, was the biggest underdog story at that time, or for that fight. But I knew Holm was just gonna come dominate Rousey. There wasn't a doubt in my mind. Now I know Rousey was Rousey, and she was armbarring everybody in 22 seconds. But I knew Holm was gonna just do what she did and just become champion like she did. Usman versus Edwards 2. I think it was more of the head kick that shocked everybody. Leon Edwards did become a UFC welterweight champion, but I don't know the odds for that. Bisping overcoming Rockhold was great. Michael Bisping is also another one of my favorite fighters. So seeing Bisping come back after losing Rockhold the first fight and knocking him out in the first round or the second round to become a UFC middleweight champion, believe, achieve, conceive. It's like great. Absolutely great. We talked about Nunes versus Pena. Another underdog story. It's actually a lot of these things are really good. We're going to go through this whole list because I agree with this whole list. Nate Diaz defeated Conor McGregor, UFC 196. Conor was Conor. He was knocking out Jose Aldo in 14 seconds. He was undefeated. He was on top of the world. But don't be scared, homie. 209. Nate Diaz comes out, puts a beating on him, chokes out McGregor. I got so excited. I jumped up, celebrated, knocked over a picture frame at my brother's house, and wasn't invited over for another year. But and I still think Nate Diaz won the second match too against Conor in a majority decision. Silva versus Weidman. Now let me just tell you, look at this Strong Island list. Strong Island making represent Matt Serra, Chris Weidman. What a heck of a 1-2 combination. Weidman, even if Silva did get cocky, Weidman knocked him out, ended the legendary streak of Anderson Silva, became the UFC middleweight champion. Now, this is number 9, one that a lot of people don't talk about. TJ Dillashaw came and defeated Renan Barão. I think TJ came in late notice and just put a beating on him. But TJ Dillashaw, one of the best bantamweights of all time. Verdum versus Emelianenko. This is like the first outside of the UFC upset. Now, if you want to talk about a legendary fighter, Fedor Emelianenko is that fighter. That dude was undefeated. He was knocking out everybody within a minute or two. Brett Rogers, Andre Arlovski, Tim Sylvia, even in Pride, Crow Cup. I don't know if he beat Crow Cup. But even in Pride, it's just those wins. And then you fall into the submission game of Fabrice and Verdum. I remember waking up to a text like, oh my God, Verdum just submitted Fedor. I'm like, no way. So, Gonzaga versus Krokop, the head kick, which is insane because Mirko Krokop, his head kicks were legendary. Left kick hospital, right kick cemetery. And just Gonzaga defeating Krokop was just absolutely insane. The way he head kicked him and Krokop's leg went that way, and it was just the most brutal knockout I've ever seen. Babe, I love you. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you. You are amazing. BJ Penn versus Frankie Edgar 1. BJ lost to Frankie in Abu Dhabi. What a shocker that was. Jersey Strong. I couldn't vote against Frankie Edgar. And then just a beatdown that Frankie put on BJ the next 2 times. And then I'm going to stop here. Actually, no, I got a few more. Dominic Cruz losing to Cody Garbrandt. The greatest performance I've ever seen Cody Garbrandt put on, beating the Dominic Cruz of legendary status. I could not believe what I just saw. Dominic Cruz defeated Uriah Faber, defeated TJ Dillashaw, going down the alpha male list, defeated Joseph Benavidez. But then Cody, something happened that night in December of 2016. And just the way Cody Garbrandt just defeated Dominic Cruz is a performance I'll never, ever, ever forget. One from Pride, Sokaju defeated, I want to say that's Big Nog by TKO. Don't know too much about that, but I do remember that was a huge upset. BJ Penn defeating Matt Hughes in the first fight. Matt Hughes was and is one of the most legendary welterweights of all time. So seeing BJ Penn submit Matt Hughes, of course that's an upset. And then Rose Namajunas defeated Joanna Jędrzejczyk at UFC 217. So, winning her first championship. Joanna just was an insane on the train to just being one of the best of all times. And, Thug Rose. Who remembers Thug Rose? Thug Rose. Other ones we talk about, Seth Fretzizeri versus Kimbo Slice. Ortiz versus Ryan Bader. I was so upset. Like, Ryan Bader is one of my favorite fighters of all time. And seeing him get choked out by an old man Ortiz was just heartbreaking. Alexa Grasso defeated Shevchenko. That was insane, too. Joe Lozon defeated Jens Pulver. And then, which is crazy about that, Joe Lozon goes on to the Ultimate Fighter, goes on BJ Penn's team, and the opposite coach is Jens Pulver. Otto versus McGregor. I don't know if that was an upset, but 14 seconds is definitely an upset. Let's see what else we got. Jamie Varner versus Edson Barbosa. That was a great fight. Dan Henderson defeated Emelianenko. This is the first Strikeforce upset that we have. Pettis over Dos Anjos. That was a upset for sure. Let's see. Cyborg over Nunes. Pulver versus BJ Penn. And, hey, how about Fabricio Verdum submitting Cain Velasquez on the same night that I got Penny. So, I just talked for a very long time right there. But yeah, those are the, big upsets. There's a lot more. I'm not going to go through all the lists. That was the top 50. I think I just charted it off, but, yeah. I remember, yeah, so. But today in history, that was the biggest upset in UFC history. So Matt Serra, one of my favorites. I want to meet him so bad. I listen to his podcast. Check his podcast out. A little bit of boxing news. Tyson Fury, we talked about him making a comeback. He is making a comeback this Saturday. Excuse me. Against Arslanbek Makmudov. So Tyson Fury is coming back to box. We haven't seen Tyson Fury in a little bit. He decided to step away, but, sometimes that bug bites you and you got to come back. Looking to come back after losing back-to-back fights against Alexander Usyk in 2024. So we'll talk about that. Hopefully Fury wins and moves on and does what he does. Maybe a trilogy with Usyk. We'll see. The heavyweight division's always... I think the heavyweight division is probably the best division of boxing for, the fans. Still, you can't say bad things about, the lower weights. I never will. But, Ali and Tyson and Fury and Usyk. So, moving on. MLB, a little bit of Tampa Bay Rays news. They are returning to Tropicana Field. If you do remember, is that if you don't remember? If you remember... What's the proper way to say that? If you don't remember, but if you do remember. If you don't remember, their St. Petersburg Tropicana Field got ripped apart by that hurricane a few years ago, and they've been playing outside of Tropicana Field for the last few years. But, they put it all together and got the roof back on, and so they came back to Tropicana Field with a huge win. So, shout out to Tampa Bay Rays. Mets play star outfielder Juan Soto on the IL with the calf strain. 10 days, he'll be fine, but it was Juan Soto, and I know a lot of New Yorkers love Juan Soto, hate Juan Soto, so I had to bring it up, Soto. Last night, a World Series rematch happened with the Los Angeles Dodgers putting on a beating against the Toronto Blue Jays, and blew them out. 14-2 in a World Series rematch. And the main star of the weekend, and it's been since day one, is the ABS system in baseball. Now, a lot of people are liking it. A lot of people aren't. The automated ball strike challenge. So, if you don't know what the ABS system is, if a pitcher throws a pitch, and the catcher catches it, and the umpire is like, that's a ball, the catcher goes, and then they go to a magical board, and it shows graphically, where the ball is, and sometimes it's strike. A player can protest balls and strikes, and I don't know. But here's the thing. I think we met the first official bad thing about the ABS system, there was a call that it was that, you see that? That close out of the strike zone. A human eye could not tell that was a strike. It was 0.2 millimeters on the strike zone. I think that is when it's going to be a little bit too much, you know. I think umpires are there for a reason. Human mistake, but I don't think the ABS system is going to stay in baseball for a very long time. I don't. But, you know. Speaking about that, we do need to look at our fantasy team. We've talked about our fantasy team. We lost last week. We are now 1-1, but we put on a heck of a fight. Come on, we lost. Let's see the scores. We lost 1-1 against the top rated team not the top rated team, but the highest team scored last week, and they were facing me, who had the second highest score. So we lost, but we're doing okay now, I think. You know, we made some moves, added some players. So, I like fantasy baseball. I don't do hockey or basketball. I do football. But, I got Sandy Alcantara on the mound today, Jacob Mizorowski on the mound. So, we'll see how they do. My opponents, I'm projected to win 247 to their 239. So, it's going to probably be a really close game. But, me picking up Muntaka Murakami for the White Sox, that was a great pickup. And I made some moves. Wilson Contreras, Vladdy Guerrero, Ozzy Albies, Jose Ramirez, Corey Seager, Jose Altuve in the outfield. Jordan Duran, John Carlos Stanton, Murakami. That's my team right there. So, I've won fantasy football once. I've never won fantasy baseball. But fantasy baseball is fun. Get to change up, see the prospects, do a little bit, trades and drops and, be a little GM for the week. Moving on to the NBA, the playoffs are so soon. Gonna start in just a couple of days. We always look at the standings. I think we looked at the standings every single week. But like I said, nothing has changed. Everybody that is in the playoffs are in the playoffs. The bracket isn't really, out there just yet. Now, there is a Monday, April 6th, NBA did post this on their Instagram, which I think would be cool. We could talk about this. I don't know what that was. Oh my God. We'll talk about that later. But the Western Conference, number 1 seed is either Oklahoma City Spurs, number 2 seed, same thing. 3 and 4, Lakers, Nuggets, and the Rockets. 5th seed, add the Timberwolves. 6th seed, Rockets, Timberwolves, Suns. 7th seed, Timberwolves, Suns, Clippers, Trailblazers. 8th seed, Suns, Clippers, Trailblazers. 9th seed, Suns, Clippers, Trailblazers, Warriors. 10th seed, Clippers, and Warriors. Eastern Conference. Number 1 seed, Detroit Pistons. No other number 1 seed. They locked up the number 1 seed in the East. Number 2, Celtics and Knicks. Number 3, Celtics, Knicks, Cavaliers. Number 4, Knicks, Cavaliers, and Hawks. And then, I'm only going to say this once. Number 5 seed and number 10 seed are either going to be the Cavaliers, the Hawks, the 76ers, the Raptors, the Hornets, the Magic, and the Heat. So, that is the playoff positions so far. Possible seeding possibilities. So, that if you did not hear your team in that, your team has been eliminated. Yes. So the standings are out there. A playoff picture is coming. Let's see. When does it start? Play-in tournament, April 14th. 1 week away. We are 1 week away from the playoffs. April 14th to 17th. If you consider the play-in to be the playoffs. Now, on NBA.com, the official NBA.com, says SoFi NBA play-in tournament, April 14th to 17th. Playoffs, April 18th. So, Do you consider the play-in tournament the playoffs? It's under the playoff picture bracket, but you tell me what I think. You tell me what I think. But one thing, though, we need to talk about, I think it'll be okay. Victor Wembanyama left a game yesterday with a bruised hip, but he is going to come back. He is going to take San Antonio Spurs to possibly the whole entire thing, but he'll be okay. He will be okay. Speaking of somebody who's not going to be okay, the Chicago Bulls. Yes, Chicago Bulls fired their front end head, GM. So, part ways with Executive VP of Basketball Operations. Whoa, that is a Greek name. Artemis II. I should know this. I'm half Greek. And General Manager Mark Eversley on Monday, ending a 6-something I can't read. So, yeah. So, this is the time. If your team is not in the playoffs, you make moves. You fire head coaches. You clean house. You enjoy the summer, and you get back in the fall and do what you need to do. Because that is the, way you got to do things. If you're not winning, you got to change stuff up. I wish some other teams would realize that. Hey, we haven't won a playoff in 20 years. Maybe we shouldn't have the same general manager or owner or head coach. Raiders. That was for the Las Vegas Raiders. But we're going to look at the, now this is for ESPN. They have a MVP poll. Looks like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is in number one lead. Then Victor behind him, Jokic and Doncic. But I think Doncic is not eligible now. So looks like Shai might become the MVP once again. But the one I'm really looking forward to is the Rookie of the Year straw poll. Kron Knuppel is edging out Cooper Flag for that Rookie of the Year. But I think you give it to Cooper. If you give it to Khan, I'll be okay. Charlotte's it's a team that needs something going right for their once, But I think, did we say? Yeah, Hornets are in the playoffs, so. Speaking about a little bit of Women's National Basketball Association, the WNBA, Angel Reese has been traded to the Atlanta Dream from the Chicago Sky for a draft pick in 2027 and 2028. Why am I talking about Angel Reese? Because she is a controversial figure in NBA, or the WNBA. Caitlin Clark, she is the best player in the WNBA. And then Angel Reese is like, nuh-uh, I'm the best player. Everybody watches the WNBA because of me. And I'm like, no, you're not that good. You're not that good. You got traded. Caitlin Clark was picked first in that draft. And you got picked 7th. Still, not too crazy, but yeah. Angel Reese, she is now going to be on the Atlanta Dream. So that's cool. I'm just talking about that to get the views. By the way, I want to just point something out. I posted episode 51 on YouTube last night. Guys, 30 views the first couple hours. Thank you so much. That means so much to me. I got like 32 subscribers. We're growing. Now, do I kind of force people to subscribe to me when I meet you and we hang out and we talk and I say like, hey, do you have a YouTube? Subscribe to me? Yes, but get over it. That's how you grow. But we're going to talk about the NBA, not the NBA, the W. It's almost my bedtime. I got work at 6 a.m. tomorrow. Talk about the NHL, the Buffalo Sabres. Yes, our Buffalo Sabres. Brat Said That favorite hockey team, not my hockey team, but the favorite hockey team of Brat Said That. They are now tied for first place once again against the Lightning. They have clinched the playoff spot for the first time in 15 years, giving the award to now the New York Jets for the longest drought in playoffs for any of the Big Four sports. So, yeah, they have 102 points right behind or tied with the Lightning. Canadians right there with 100. They all clinched. Hurricanes clinched with 104 points. Western Conference, Avalanche, Stars, and Wild. Still, that Pacific Division is wide open. Golden Knights might have fired their head coach, but I think they're still in a proper place to get in the playoffs. Let's look at their standings, because I'm still learning a lot about hockey, you know? So, Penguins are going to clinch in the next few days. The Islanders they're right there. The Islanders have to do something. They're right outside the playoffs. I think it's 8 seeds. They're number 9 right behind Philly and Ottawa. So, come on there, Strong Island. Let's do it. Avalanche, Stars, Wild, they all clinch. Oilers, Ducks, and Mammoth, Knights, and Kings are all right there. The Predators are just right behind the Kings. And the Canucks and Blackhawks, they eliminated. So, their playoffs start just around the same time. We can look NHL playoffs. Talk about playoffs? Be lucky if we win the game. Okay, so if the playoffs started today, we would have Colorado and the Kings, Dallas, Wild, Edmonton, Utah, Anaheim Ducks, and the Vegas Golden Knights. Tampa Bay, Boston, Buffalo, Montreal, Carolina, Ottawa, Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh and Philly would be cool. A little Pennsylvania battle. But that is if the playoffs started tonight. It does not say when the playoffs start. It'd be nice if they said that. ESPN, let's see. When do the playoffs start? Doesn't tell me. Come on. 2025 standing. No, is this year or last year? No, that was last year. Because obviously we're in 2026. Playoffs start. Does not tell me. But hey, we'll figure it out. We'll have fun. We'll talk about it. And yeah. No NFL news. We can check about the NFL. Let's see. Actually, before we talk away, New Jersey Devils part ways with Tom Fitzgerald. I got some Devil fans that are close to me. So, yeah. NFL news. Let's see. Anything in NFL? Actually, we can do this because the draft is coming up. We've talked about Fernando Mendoza more than I've not stopped thinking about this man in the last 3-4 months. Fernando actually announced that he's not going to attend the draft. He's going to hang out in Miami and watch it with his family. So, good for Fernando. The draft is coming up, I want to say the 22nd. When is the draft? Hello? It is the 23rd, so we got a couple weeks away. Listen, if I'm off, we're going to talk about that. We're going to have a watch-along. We're going to automatically buy our Mendoza jersey for next year. So, looking at mock draft, obviously Mendoza is going to go first. No more, no less. Angel Reese from Ohio State is going to go to the Jets. Francis Maligoa is going to go to the Cardinals. David Bailey, Titans. Jeremiah Love, and Giants. And, it's got to be good. Not a very heavy quarterback draft, but, it'll be good for them. And that was just NFL.com live mock draft. You never know what's going to happen, but they better draft Mendoza. That's all I know is that's what's going to happen. But big breaking news last night. Michigan defeated UConn to win the NCAA basketball championship 69-63. First basketball title for them since 1989. So good for Michigan. I know they just won the Natty a few years ago. Now they won the entire thing. April Madness is over, and Michigan is the champions. So good for Michigan. My draft board that I did, the bracket 68%, 67%, right? Not bad. But I had Duke, Arizona going to the finals. Did not happen. But, we talk about the men. We got to talk about the women. Congrats to the UCLA Bruins. They defeated the South Carolina Gamecocks 79-51 to win their March Madness. So, good for them. March Madness is over. We are moving on. And the University of North Carolina has hired Michael Malone to be their head coach. Michael Malone, I want to say took the Nuggets to the finals. Yes, he was the NBA champion on the Nuggets. So now he is the head coach of North Carolina. So, that's really all the sports talk today. Let's see, sports news, anything breaking while we were doing this? Oh, okay, we do got to talk about this. We're going to talk about this for a little bit. I know nothing about hockey. I don't. But the Masters is coming up, and I feel like we need to talk about it. April 9th through 12th. I don't know like who's going to play in it. Let's see. All past winners of the Masters are in it. The recent winners of the U.S. Open. Recent winners of the Open Championship. Brooks Koepka, Cameron Young. So, I'm going to pick a winner. Let's see. Oh, there is a lot. Oh, my Lord. That's a lot of people. There's a lot of people. Let's look at the Masters odds to win. I know names like Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler. Let's see. I want to choose. Let's see. Who should we choose? Who should Brat Said That choose? Let's go to 5 long shots. This is from golfdigest.com. 5 long shots I'm betting to win at, wait, is it the Augusta National? Yeah, right? Did we just say the National? Is that Masters? I don't know things. I was going to read that, but I feel like that's the, here we go. 2026 Masters odds. Let's get it going. Let's see. The Scotty Scheffler, plus 500. Bryson DeChambeau, plus 1,000. John Ram, 1,000. But I think I'm going to pick him. The winner of the Masters is going to be Hideki Matsuyama. That's who I'm going for. Hideki Matsuyama is going to be the next Masters champion. So, Japanese professional golfer. So, let's see. He is 34 from Matsuyama, Japan. So, good luck. I'm going to follow him on the Masters. Hideki Matsuyama. Now, a little bit of non-smart talk. I like space. I'm more of an ocean guy. But Artemis II launched from the Space Coast in Florida, where I used to live right by there, which is cool because sometimes Dad and I will go outside and we can look up and you can see them shooting off stuff in space. There was, it's a thing from NASA. They're going to go to the moon, I think, or something. It's like the first people on the moon. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But their names are Christina Hancock Coates, Victor Glover Jr., Jeremy Hudson, and Gregory Wiseman. So they are going to go. That's the crew. Wait, Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, Jeremy Hansen, and then those are all the commander, pilots, mission specialists 1 and 2. Their mission is a crewed flight test with 4 astronauts evaluating the performance of the Space Launch System, rocket among the Orion spacecraft. Wow. They took off Kennedy Space Center March 27th. And let's see, they're up there. So better be up there than up there down here. But yeah, that's cool. We all know space. Now, did we go to the moon? That is the mysterious, talk. Did we go to the moon? Did we not? I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. But conspiracies. But hey, good for NASA. One thing I'm not familiar with, though, I know. There was a shooting in Miami. Rapper Offset was shot outside of the Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida. A former member of Migos. I know one of them got shot a few years ago and passed away. Offset, who was once married to Cardi B, was treated at a hospital on Monday night shooting. His exact condition was unknown, but I think he's stable. Yeah, more than 3 years ago, Offset's cousin Takeoff, another member of Migos, was shot and killed at a Houston bowling alley. A rapper known as Little TJ was arrested for the altercation that occurred. The Seminole Police Department in Florida said. We've lost so many deaths. Nipsey Hussle, Pop Smoke, Young Dolph, B&B Barack. I think that's names. I'm just reading off this from the AP News. So, yeah, let's stop shooting each other. That's that doesn't solve anything. That doesn't solve anything. And we don't get political on the show, but whatever happens tonight, I know DJT, he's talking about bombing countries. Just be safe, be safe, be safe. And, so, I don't know. But really, that's it for the show. No news, no breaking news. I'll check Twitter real quick, see if anything popped up while we were doing the show. But yeah, I do want to talk about, hey, that is good too. Vince Russo is going to be at WrestleCon. I would love to meet him. That would be fantastic to meet him. Still a lot of tickets left for WrestleMania. But let's do a quick recap of the show. Let's get the theme song going. By the way, if you ever wondered what this song was called, it is called Wait, What? By CBL. So please don't sue me. I want to use your music. But anyway, let's do a rundown. Are you ready? Raw happened last night. WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2 match cards are announced. Pat MAGAFee, shut the fuck up. Hulk Hogan documentary next week's gonna make me cry. Alberto Del Rio arrested again. BratWURST award goes to you. TNA 6-7. What are we talking about? AEW Dynasty. We'll talk more about that show next show. UFC 327. We'll give our predictions on the next show. This day, 19 years ago, Matt Serra shocked the world. Strong Island, baby. MLB ABS system. You tell me. NBA. Victor's out, but he will be ready for the playoffs. Who's going to win the MVP? Who's going to win the Rookie of the Year? Angel Reese sent from Chicago to Atlanta. The Buffalo Sabres are going to the playoffs for the first time in 15 years. Michigan over UConn. Huge win for Michigan. Obviously, you won the whole thing. Congrats to Michigan. Congrats to UCLA Bruins. Artemis II, we'll keep an eye on that. Rapper Offset hospitalized. Hopefully he pulls through. And we'll stop bombing people. And talking about bombing people, especially on Easter. But that's it for the show. Follow me on Twitter, Brat Said That X. Instagram, Brat Jackson. YouTube, Brat Said That too. We're growing on YouTube, guys. Let's keep it going. Spotify, Brat Jackson, and bodyslam.net for all your wrestling news. But I'm going to get off. I'm going to hang out with the dogs, and I got to do some cleaning before baby gets home. So, love yourself, love each other, and love sports. And with that, guys, have a good night. Bye.